to the Showstopper podcast.
Hello.
Hello, Andrew Pugsley.
Hello, Pippa Evans, star of Showstopper, the improvised musical.
Well, that's exactly what I was going to say. We are stars of Showstopper, the improvised musical. Some of the stars of Showstopper, the improvised musical.
We're roughly 10% of the cast.
That is, actually, I sent an email to the whole cast yesterday. There are 20 people in, I think. So
there we go.
We are exactly... What number did you say?
10%, Pippa. But crazily enough, this is not a mathematics podcast.
No, it's not. It is about musicals and comedy because we are Showstopper, the improvised musical, which means, if you haven't seen it, we make up musicals on the spot.
That's right. We do. We just ask the audience for a setting, and then we, without any script, any planning, we do a whole musical, songs, dancing, all that kind of stuff.
All that kind of stuff in London's glittering West End and around the globe.
Yeah, that's true. And so in this, we're going to be talking to some people outside of the group.
Can you imagine?
Yeah, right. So we're going to be talking to some amazing people from the world of musical theatre or comedy or improv, sometimes all three.
In our first episode, we were so lucky and so grateful to speak to Mr. Mike McShane.
Yeah, absolute hero of ours. You may know him from Whose Line Is It Anyway, that incredible improv show back in the 90s that really, because we're very young people, was incredibly formative on us. I remember watching it when I was little.
Oh, yeah, just him and Josie Lawrence singing the Paperweight song will be with me for the rest of my life. You may also remember him from his sitcom Brotherly Love that he likes to pretend he wasn't in. So do Google that.
And also Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves.
Yes, so he's a big old mega star. And thinking of things mega, we are, of course, joined in this episode by Mr. Adam McGeady.
Yeah, who is Showstopper co-creator and co-director.
That's right. And on keys is Jordan Clarke.
So we recorded this at the Edinburgh Festival in August this year. Let's have a listen to our chat.
Let's have a listen. Well, so we're here to discuss stuff, and we have our wonderful guest, Mr. Mike McShane.
Mike McShane, ladies and gentlemen.
Hello, everybody. We all have our evening voices and our morning faces on.
That's it. That's a good title for my autobiography.
Yes, I'm good with the pitch on that way.
Great.
So we have very short elevators in Los Angeles where I live. You don't have the tall ones, the big executives, so you have 8.5 seconds before they throw you into the dirt. I've never seen, they have these things in LA where they go, perfect your elevator pitch. I go, perfect your panicked and undetermined way of speaking just to get a job? Hell yes, sign me up.
Mike, have you done many elevator pitches?
I've never done an elevator pitch. Wow. I think because I was in the 80s, we usually do toilet cubicle pitches, which start with going, so listen, man. Okay, no, it's a good idea. It's an owl that lives inside of a clock and it travels back in time. And it's called Dr. What? No, damn.
So Mike, we know Mike, of course, because as we were growing up, we were watching Whose Line Is It Anyway? And we saw Mike McShane with Josie Lawrence singing songs, improvising songs. I don't know about you guys, but I remember going, wow, that looks really good. That looks really good fun.
I literally had a cassette with the song, the Paperweight song, which was Mike and Josie singing a song about a paperweight with Richard Ranch on the piano. And I could not believe that it was improvised. And I loved it so much. And I thought, that is what I want to do.
Yeah, absolutely. Same here. I have to say, Mike, you are why I'm sitting in this room right now. It's why I got involved in improv, and particularly musical improv. Me and my sister used to watch you sing songs on Whose Line Is It Anyway? And it was just amazingly exciting.
It is a weird thing when you get to this certain time in your life. I would say age, but then Josie would be part of this idea, and then she would kick my ass. So where the show and your participation in it influenced people to look at this as a choice, and you want to go, I'm sorry I ruined your life. On the other hand, you're very proud that it was taken and remade new. For me, this company, these guys, all three of them and the rest of your merry band, have taken and re-sophisticated improv for a purpose to where you guys are on the West End and you've got an Olivier Award for doing it. That's not easy to do, much less to imagine that. If somebody would have told Josie and I in 1989 that would happen, we'd be like, please, off, come on.
I wonder that, because I think the kernel of that's true for me, is that you and Josie always sang songs like they were proper songs. So you never played, well, doing a silly song, we're going to ram sausage with something, It always sounded like, wow, did they just make that up? That sounds like a real song. In fact, at the end of the Paperweight song, Clive Anderson says, I think we've just heard the new edition for the Eurovision Song Contest. I I think it should win. And he's absolutely right. It sounds so good.
I think that was because we were the actor improvisers in the group. No disrespect, but that improv historically for me was where comedians and actors could meet. In San Francisco, that's where I started. So Greg Proops, who actually is a really good actor, but he was primarily interested in doing comedy. And then he was in an improv group in college, and I did one show with him in college. And then when they moved out into San Francisco to get a space to do it, then I was between gigs, or I was unemployed. I think I was homeless almost. And they said, here, do you want to do this thing? And Keith Johnston's book had just come out. So all of this by way of the influence of your country's interest in improv with the guy Keith Johnstone, The Royal Court, Ken Campbell, very open-ended, his narrative trying to stay ordinary until that opening occurs and go then. All that stuff was new to me, kind of new to Greg. They're all Second City based, but this was a new juncture. We all came together at that time. So looking back on it, it seems strangely organic. But anybody's life feels like that. Even Paul Pot goes, it all worked out really well.
But I suppose also, Mike, you've also done legit musical theatre.
Yeah, and that's what makes Josie and me, we're as you guys call, proper actors, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where we came from.
I'd love to talk a little bit more about this idea of the crossover between the theatre and the comedy. And if, you said that that's kind of how you got started. You were the proper actor getting involved in improv. And that's sort of how I got involved in improv. I know obviously other people come at it from the other way around. They get seduced into proper acting, whatever proper acting means, from doing improv comedy. And in Showstopper, we've got a nice mix of people who've come from a comedy background, people who've come from a theatre background. We tried to kind of fuse everyone together and learn from each other. So what was that like? You said it was in San Francisco that you were first doing?
Yeah, San Francisco in the 80s. I went to San Francisco State, which is a school outside of downtown San Francisco. It's over in South San Francisco, which is very nice area, but not really part of what you would imagine the city as you see it in film and stuff. And the campus had a number of really interesting teachers. It was noteworthy because there were huge riots in the 60s there. So it's a very tree-hugging, left-leaning, granola crunching school, which I think is fantastic, frankly. And I went there because I was a vet in the Army. I got out of the service, traveled around for a while, and decided to go to state. And when I was there, I met Greg and a guy named Brian Lohman, Reed Rallman, other performers, Sandy Althouse and Kathy Arcolio. And they were in a group called Faultline Comedy Musical Theater. Somebody called it musical. And they had chops for that. Greg can sing okay, Sandy could sing, Kathy could sing, and I could sing. And so it was just sort of like we had a really good pianist, Nathan, oh God, what's his last name? It'll come to me in a bit, sorry. And he was a pretty good pianist, and we had a club. And we were new. We made ourselves different. We dressed like madness. So we had the thin ties and the black suits because it was still the rainbow suspenders and Robin Williams era. And so Robin was a big hero in San Francisco. He was a Bay Area guy who was Robin Williams. And so all those influences, San Francisco has always been a great city for people to throw down as long as you're not hurting anybody. Can I tell you a quick story?
Yeah.
This is in the gold rush era in the 19th century. You ever know of Emperor Norton? Have you heard of Emperor Norton? Joseph P. Norton, who was a Brit, I think, or Irish, was a shipping magnate and a gambler. And during the 19th century, he was down in San Francisco gambling away. And he lost his entire fortune. And he said, well, I've got money coming in, ships coming around the Cape of Good Hope, and they got goods laden with goods, and we'll be fine. So I'll put those up. They go, okay, good. Your mark is good with us. The ship's foundered. He lost everything. And he came back and they said, you heard the news, you got nothing. Barbary Coast here, gambling hard. And he goes, and he runs out in the street in the night. Well, that's it. He's dead. They figure he's going to jump off a bridge. 2 months go by. He shows up dressed in full military regalia, mad as a bag of cats, and declares himself Emperor Norton, Emperor of the United States, and Protector of Mexico. And he prints his own money. And the city, and he says, my money is legal tender. So wherever I go and do anything, I'll pay for my printed money. And San Francisco, as the city went, cool, man. And just let him do it. He did it. He dined at the finest restaurants. He had 2 dogs, Bummer and Lazarus. And they would just he'd throw him bones and shit. And he was insane for Lily Langtry. He believed there was a conspiracy to kill her, and he wanted to order an armed guard around her. So San Francisco always habits places for colorful, crazy people. If you're not hurting anybody. When he died, he had a state funeral. Mark Twain and Bret Hart, which were 2 famous, one you probably know and everyone, famous poets and writers, eulogized him. It's this incredible place where they let this guy live out his fantasy. So, there's no surprise that it's like the home of the rainbow flag, and crazy ass liberals and people who want to free whales and things like that, because it's all a very open arena for your taste and consciousness. And as a young actor, I was too scared to go to LA. I was too scared to go to New York. If I failed there, then it would tell me, well, that's it. The cities would have defined me. As London made to some people define it, even like Joe Jackson, down to London, he wrote a song about, I'm gonna make it there. It's this place, it's loaded. San Francisco's just loaded because it's really high. It's stoned all the time. So there was nothing to lose. I think that's why I went. And I'm lucky it was the right time. Because guys like Greg and the Eureka Theater and ACT were all these theaters, and the sort of the crossover for all of it. Anna Devere Smith was at ACT as an actor. Oscar Eustis, who ran the Eureka, now runs the Public Theater in New York. The first production, the first table read of Angels in America was at the Theater, the Eureka. Tony Kushner, I did some of Tony Kushner's first work there. I just fell in, you look back, go, man, I was in what you wouldn't have thought would be the right place. But it was in the right place at the right time with the right thing. And comedy wasn't corporate yet. It was just at the end of that. There's a club called the Other Cafe up above Haight Street. And it was literally the last sort of guys coming in with a notebook going, I got some, we'll try to tell some stuff about dogs and their mask, and we just do it. Mm. And it had two sides of open glass looking onto not a cable car turnaround, but like a bus turnaround. It was an electric bus, kind of had these running lines all through the city. When they snap, they make this sound like a shotgun going off. So you get used to it after a point. This club was a famous club for that. And the guys that ran it were really, Robin was there all the time. I played with Robin, me and Proops. He came in and sat in with us, Robin Williams there. And we were young comedians, we young improvisers. We thought we'll give him a run for his money. We were actually really awful improvisers to him. We wouldn't let him speak. We just kept messing with him. It was a Shakespeare, so I bent him over and I was buggering him, eating breakfast off his back and giving him things to do. And
classic improv.
Classic.
I love as well, classic Shakespeare. It was a Shakespeare, therefore I was buggering him.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the Shakespeare way.
Yeah. So afterward, years later, I met him. I was like, I'm so sorry. He's like, oh man, yeah, your boys were happy, weren't you? I was like, yes, we were, sir. Thank you. Because the most boring story in the world is what a nice guy Robin Williams is, because everybody had one. If the more interviews from me, yes, Robin fucked my dog and stabbed my hamster to death would be notable. But you know what I'm saying? He was really a bright light of his own kind. Maybe not everybody thinks, oh, that's that, but really he was an incredible human being. Mm-hmm. Incredible human being.
And so San Francisco was this incredible environment. It was absolutely conducive to improvisation because it's open and it was liberal and you could try anything. Exactly. And everyone was welcome. And there was a really interesting phrase that I heard you use just then, which is before comedy got corporate. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Can you talk a little more about that? Like when do you think comedy got corporate and why? What's that all about?
Its potential started in, I think, like 86. I went with Greg and a guy named Dana Gould, who's a comedian. I was the head writer for Simpsons for many years. Dana was starting out as a comedian, and Greg, and I was tagging along because I did improvise stand-up like for fun, and I did it a couple of times, and I was okay because I was lucky. I'm really not good at it. I'm not organized enough, I think. Anyway, we go, and I'm Hannah because I'm the improv friend. And so we go to Rooster T. Feathers, which was a comedy club in like Corte Madera, which is about 60 miles outside of San Francisco. And it's in a mall. It's very clean. And it's not like the clubs you see in San Francisco, even though the really well-run ones are clean, but it's funky. This place was like really like a Disney ride. It had like channeled seats and lighting in the wall sconces and stuff, so you couldn't see the light sources. Fake small brightly lit Leco lights. They're like chromed, so they're not really functionally good lights. They look pretty on a stage and reflect light back. And I'm sitting there, and Greg goes, just sit here and have a drink. I'm like, okay. And all of a sudden I hear this track, record like, boom, 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 but hi, welcome to Rooster T. Feathers. Yeah, where comedy is king. Well, we got a really great act. We've got Rug Proofs, and we got a great. It's like the slide, and it was like I was like, oh my God, this is a Disney ride. It's just completely. They have these things. in California in the 70s called Chuck E. Cheese. And there were these pizza parlors with games and really, really bad food, bad pizza. And they had Dolly Dimples and her band, which were racially uncomfortable stereotypes of like wind-up animals that were underlit and would rotate and play this recorded music on every 15 minutes.
This sounds truly horrifying.
It's really horrifying. I went in once on psilocybin mushrooms, and I had to be carried out screaming when I was a young hippie, because it was just like, it's all too real! Dolly Dimples is real! I tried to pull her head off or something, you know. Mike's got to go now. But it was one of those things, it was like flip it on, wind it up. You know, I have friends who are in Disney shows on Broadway, and they talk about there's a point after you're in it, you feel like you come in and you go, ring, ba-doo, and you're like, and you feel like you're an automaton.
It's something about that commercial. We've had friends be in big West End shows, and they felt the same, that they had to just hit the mark, and actually what they wanted to get, why they continued to do improv during those shows, because they wanted that feeling of, I'm creating something, rather than I have to step here, otherwise I ruin the show. You know, I must get in my light. And if even if you choose to turn clockwise instead of anti-clockwise, you will mess up someone else. Whereas in improv, obviously, you just make a choice and someone else will respond to your choice rather than go, no, that's not supposed to happen.
I think that's important. I think that there's a lot of people who go to have that second place to get that back into their system, because everyone, but shows have tracks. Broadway shows obviously have tracks. Tailor-Made Man, the show that Duncan Adam wrote, had a track. But with these things, it seemed comedy was money finally for it. And the guys like Robin and all the guys that start early, Rick Overton, when comedy still consisted of guys, the Vegas-y feel of like taking your chances, a single man's job, really. Robin, when he hit it with improv, the city had this sort of, nobody's going to make a career of it. I think once he made a fortune being Mork, and it was a spokesperson really for improv. He extolled it. So comedy and improv met. They started making money again, and people wanted comedy improv.
Yeah,
they don't want improv as a theatrical art form, which I would safely assume the four of us probably think it is.
Yeah,
absolutely.
For sure.
My thing is, Verdi can go and watch the Scottish play and then go and take and write an opera about it. You know, why when they go, why does he just do that? Because he writes operas. And that I think improvisation is an art form which is best served live, to be frank. I think it's best served live because its glory and its pull come from that when it's for people. Yeah,
it's all about sharing the moment, isn't it? The actors discover something at the same time the audience discover it. And that's why it just has to be live medium is when it's at its most powerful.
I think San Francisco had that a lot. And then, of course, when you say the money comes in, I want to put it in a box, get it on TV, repeat it,
Yeah, although, Whose Line, fantastically successful on TV. Phenomenally successful on TV. And a really, just a simple way of packaging that onto TV and making it work.
A lot of that was Chris Bold, who was the director. Chris got to know us personally as performers. He saw how we cut the air, and he would preset the cameras to find, guys like me and Josie had more stage chops, would do diagonal crosses. We'd use the space, whereas people who were comedians would come down front and be presentational. He got that. He knew and he would adapt people so much so that Denise O'Donoghue, the producer, said, you've got to do it less well. It looks too prepared. And, it's kind of, it's like, well, yeah, because he's actually watching us. He's participating with us. Chris is an amazing director. He's a teacher, and I teach cinema. But he was really, really good at it.
I think that's a really sort of interesting idea that you bring up there, the idea of like doing it less well so that it doesn't look prepared.
Yeah.
Isn't that such a kind of albatross for improvisers? Because there is, like, however pure you want to be, there is that pressure and that constant fear of being judged for people who believe that it's not improvised. And the pressure to make it less good sometimes is a really weird one, but it is always present.
Yeah, it's really strange.
Because if it's too shiny, people... Well, what's the point of seeing something that looks like it was written?
Why not just write it?
Yeah. And I love that line Ken Campbell say, if you're gonna make it up, it better be better than if it was written down. And that's really true. But then to make it better than if it was written down, do you need to see that it's not written down?
That's exactly, and I think that's the thing you end up working through, because when you hear that statement, you go, what does that mean? It means it has to hold what improv charms people with, as well as an amazingly unified story.
It's the spirit of the thing, not the resultant content as much.
And we often talk about in Showstopper it being like a high wire act. And the audience wants to see that little wobble. They want us to see us make it to the other side. They don't want to see someone fall. But if there's no wobble and there's no danger, then it's not live and it's not exciting.
Yeah.
I think the merry chase between the audience and us is one of the things that defines it. And if you can keep it up and you can keep just ahead or not ahead at moments and gleefully go, hey, we don't know, and then keep going. That's it. Carl Reiner said improv's great because nothing more wonderful than watching a brilliant mind in panic.
Right. The panic thing is important, isn't it? That's that's another thing about putting improv into a recorded medium is as long as you can capture the panic moment or that moment of the impulse, that the audience suggestion suddenly really putting the performer in trouble, and you can see the performer in trouble, and then what happens as a result. Yeah. It's that little process that if you can't capture that, it's very, very difficult, isn't it?
And is that because we then, I think if you don't see the panic, we just come across as smug?
Sometimes, yeah, I think so.
Smug improviser is probably the worst.
Yeah.
Smug is the worst.
Smug prov. Hi.
Glib and smug, they're just the worst.
With that slight eyebrow raise of, I did just say that.
Yeah, nothing affects me at all, and I'm just really happy to be here. It's the most ghastly form of performance at all.
I think we all dig that moment. Ken Campbell, San Francisco, the hippie thing, the experiential idea of being on stage, of being in an audience and being with people on stage, the experiential nugget of that, the well-made play, which curtain comes up, it's all said, one arm's hanging on the mantle and you got a drink in the other and you move from X to Y and people are enjoying their evening. That was great. And then we got this different point of view from crazy, fluid, wild-ass people, And San Francisco, I think, Ken Campbell might have enjoyed himself if he ever had gone there. I wonder if he did. Fortunately, I got to talk to him 3 days before he died. I think you hooked me up.
Right.
He called me, just talked to. I always just want to just buy you lunch and talk to you. So I want to get where you're at, because I think I might have known people like you, the way he was and the way you related to him and then what I read about him. And then 3 days later, he's gone. And I was like, well, shit. That's really rude.
Maybe you pushed him over the edge, Mike.
Exactly. Fucking American.
I'm not standing to meet Mike McShane. I can't think of anything worse than Mike McShane.
Well, Tim Benting said he was at a party years ago talking to him, and Ken went, look at me, I have to find somebody more interesting to talk to.
And just wandered off. Yes.
I think maybe just as an in for people who are listening who aren't as familiar with Ken as we are, maybe we should just a little précis who Ken Campbell is.
Theatre maverick. Would that work?
Yeah, he's really known as the theatre maverick theatre genius. He's the guy who directed the Illuminatus trilogy, the opening of the Cottesloe Theatre in the late end of the 70s, or somewhere in the 70s, I can't remember exactly. Also famous for The Warp, directing a 22-hour play by Neil Oram, which has been done several times. And for us, around this table, he is the guy who we met, and he'd just come back from Edmonton, Alberta, Canada, when we met him, and he said, I've just seen these guys called Dynasty do a soap opera that was improvised. It was better than scripted stuff, so we're going to make everything up. So we had to just make everything up, but none of us really knew what we were doing at that time. We were just making stuff up with Ken shouting at us. But it was the spur for us to get improvising and find out more about improv. One of the things Ken always used to love to do was to get us to do it like it's a musical. Do it again, but do it like it's a musical. So that was where, certainly from my point of view, and from Keddy Sutton in Liverpool, who I was working with a lot at the time, we just started singing. Lucy Trod, who of course is in Showstopper, we started just singing stuff. And after a while, we sort of said, we could maybe do a musical. I had no idea that it had been done, that there were other people doing improvised musicals anywhere. I didn't know anything about improv. So that's how Ken, at the end of his life, kind of launched us on this particular journey, fairly accidentally.
Wow.
I feel really lucky that I had Ken, actually, because I think having the mix of Ken, because I came from pub prov, so standing on a pub stage and doing which is great to be able to do short form improv, joke, be funny. The audience is paid, they want their laugh for their buck. And then have Ken be like, no, do it more interesting. No, that's cheap. Don't be cheap. So it was really great for me to have that, to have both worlds sort of presented
Pushing
to me.
you into another world.
Yeah, because I think sometimes you get shown one way. So I'm very much an advocate for go and learn lots of different ways of improvising from different schools and places and find the bits that work for you. And I found at Ken just opened our eyes up. But I met Ken when I was 16 because he came to my school to do a workshop, and he was never allowed back because he smoked cigars and drank port in the toilets. And he was like, this is a school.
I like this guy. And now say,
Yeah, exactly. He just was locking
What's that smell?
It's like the interval's over. Oh, so we did a show in the evening, and my drama teacher was like, Ken, the interval's over. He's like, I'll be just one more minute. Yeah, great.
Well, you're about to find out more about Ken as well, because you're about to go and see the show.
I'm going to go see the play today.
Yeah, so we're up in Edinburgh at the moment. We're recording this here in Edinburgh at the end of the Edinburgh Festival, and there is a play by Terry Johnson called Ken, which is about his relationship with Ken Campbell.
And you say the fellow that plays Ken is really uncanny.
Jeremy Stockwell does a fantastic turn
Amazing.
as Ken Campbell. There are times when you look at him and you go, what? Ken's just turned up. It's really strange.
It's true.
But it's wonderful, and it does give you a good dose and some fantastic anecdotes as well. A lot of the play is about how Ken gave Terry who Terry became.
Wow. Terry Johnson directed me on a Broadway show, La Cage aux Folles. He was fantastic. He wrangled Harvey Feinstein beautifully, and Jeffrey Tambor, who wasn't so beautiful, but was well wrangled. But he was a really cool guy. Is a cool guy, talking like he's dead. To me, he looks like the happiest moray eel you've ever met in your life. It's like he's just come out there going, hi, I've had some really good ideas. Come into my moray eel cave.
Now, Mike, so you've played a lot of parts in the world, but one of the joys of Showstopper, what we love about Showstopper, is it allows us to play all the parts we would never, ever be cast in, ever. So if you could have a part in any musical that you would never, ever be allowed to have because of your casting, what would the part be?
Oh, God. No, that's a real question that I would have. I think Billy Bigelow in Carousel, because he's got these really soppy, melodramatic songs, but they're beautiful songs to sing. And obviously that would be very unlikely that I would be cast in that role. But like a juvenile lead, maybe Tony in West Side Story, because I played Krupke and Officer Shrek in productions of it. I'd have to sit backstage and mouth, and I was in that range then. And the first guy played, he was such a douchebag. Such a stuck-up bastard. I could sing better than him, and I was like, it's just because I'm fat, man. Oh, man. The background of Scrim. God, being an actor is fun that way, but I've been thwarted many times by people. I did Polonius in Hamlet to the guy that was dating my girlfriend's ex, played Hamlet, and so to top him, I fell out of the arras when I was stabbed and kept my eyes open during the entire scene in a rictus of death until the director, a very charming man, Mr. Tuttle, said, "Oh, Mike, just f***ing die."
Amazing.
I have no will. I have too much will.
I want to send a question back to Pippa. What part would you dream musical part that you'd never be cast in? Would you want to play?
Fagin.
Ooh, there was no pause at all. Yeah, wow, still just like Fagin. In fact, she's sitting here in costume right now. Exactly. Now it explains the top hat and the little muffler.
The fingernails look amazingly grotty.
Yeah. Can you elaborate on why Fagin?
I think Fagin is one of the top parts in a musical ever, and I think it's a shame that just because I'm a lady, I wouldn't be allowed to play it. And I think I think it out again. I love the wordplay in that musical so much, and I've seen it done again like really badly by people, and I get so angry when I saw I won't name names, but I saw someone phoning it in at the Drury Lane, and I thought, you're in Drury Lane, mate.
Yeah.
Come on now, play
Deliver.
a bag, please.
Yeah.
And really, really annoyed me that someone had the dream part and was bored of it already. But then I've not played Fagin for 2 years, so maybe after 2 years I would get a bit bored of it. But I just think it's such a fantastic part. And I love all the dance. I love Fagin's playfulness, but also he's really a sad character. I love those characters that seem sort of jolly and friendly, and then you realise actually deep in their soul they're deeply disturbed. That's the answer to my question.
Nice. Andy, how about you?
Yeah.
See, I, obviously this question was coming to me, and I've been racking my brains all through. As usual, not really listening to what Pippa was saying, trying to think of what I should say.
That's the Showstopper way.
Very much so the way. I don't know. I mean, maybe I'd be Elphaba. Wouldn't that be fun?
That would be fun.
Wicked. That'd be awesome.
Nice.
Defying Gravity's a great
Yeah.
song.
It's a big, there are just so many moments in that. It's like, everybody shut up and listen to me now. That'd be quite fun, I think.
I got to say, Andy, I saw 2 years ago, there was this piano bar thing where and he rocked a Meatloaf song like nobody's business. It was amazing. I remember I was just like, was I just drunk and loving you? It was just amazing.
I try and
kind.
force Andrew to sing Meatloaf pretty much any time I possibly can because he's so good at it.
I have to say, Mike said to me, I remember the night you were there, Mike, and you said to me the best thing that anybody has ever said to me. I lost quite a lot of weight a few years ago. I lost about 5 stone. And I sang Out of Hell, and Mike came up to me and said, man, you lost all the weight, but you still sing like a fat motherfucker. That is literally the best thing anybody's ever said to me.
Bless you. Yeah, I must have been hammered, but that's true. That comes from the heart. That comes totally from the heart.
What about you, Adam McGee?
I don't know. I really don't know. It'd be nice to sing something, because I don't have a low voice. I don't have a bass voice. It'd be nice to sing something bass, like Sweeney. That'd be great.
Yeah.
Get into the resonance of that. I mean, I would love to, obviously, it's such a great part, but I'd never get anywhere near it because I just don't have the depth of the voice for it. So whenever I hear recordings of Sweeney Todd, I'm always impressed by the kind of that, giving a leading role to that kind of bass baritone voice. You don't hear it a lot.
He's all my friend.
Yeah, it's just so rich, isn't it?
Yeah.
And is it Len Cariou? Who plays
My wife saw Len Cariou singing on Broadway.
the depth of that voice is so beautiful. So something like that, maybe.
Michael Ball being Sweeney.
Yeah, but they must have transposed it, didn't it?
Did they?
Yeah, because it.
Well,
was,
but
he's
the
a
most
tenor.
impressive thing was you saw this production,
No.
didn't you? Oh, no, you didn't. Was that he was on this truck, so the truck was right out the front, and he did the last note, I think, of that song.
Oh yeah,
And then the truck just went back really slowly, and he held the note for about 5 minutes. It was unbelievable. The whole audience just sat there going, "Is he going to make it?" And not even a second of fear in his face at all. It was just like, "Watch my lungs, watch my lungs."
My lungs go on forever. I thought he did a great job. I thought he did really well.
We all know I love Michael Ball.
Respect your pulmonary system, sir.
But there is a great joy, isn't there, in the show that you never know what you're going to be and you end up being anything and everything.
I love that.
Not just in Showstopper, but in any kind of improv, especially if you're doing it every night. You think, oh, what's tonight? What do I end up playing? And I love the fact that you don't know what it is until the whole thing's over.
Yeah.
Even if you think you know, it's just a starting point and it twists and turns and suddenly you're at the end of it and you go, oh, that's what I played tonight.
That's why the games are fun, but doing long-form narrative is the best because you have a prolonged activity in a character that keeps moving and shifting and changing, and people are adding, and you've got to roll.
Yeah.
It's fantastic that way.
Have we spoken about Mike being in our first ever Edinburgh show?
No, because this is really...
And because we should say that. So our first ever Edinburgh Showstopper we did was in 2008.
Mm-hmm.
And Mike McShane. And I don't even know how this occurred, actually, that why we managed to get Mike McShane, the Mike McShane, and all of us going, oh my God, Mike McShane, to be in the first show.
I think it was like you, or I just remember Dylan, I think, came up to me like a salesman trying to sell me roof tiles. And
Did he have a briefcase?
he did have a briefcase.
Open it up.
You know what I'm saying? Exactly. Like, take a look at these beauties, my friend. Fireproof, waterproof, squirrel-proof, 100%.
This is the executive improv program.
Exactly.
For our gold class and platinum members.
Talk to me further. Yeah. My friend here, Adam McGee, will extemporize. Hello. I think both of you guys came up to me.
Did we?
Yeah.
We flanked you like velociraptors in a courtyard somewhere.
I think so, and it was just... I've always been of the mind why I'm here is to have that happen. Like the Improverts, I sat in with them when I was first here. Because that's the improv thing. You know, Spirit of the Fringe is all good. I believe that too. But, here's a group. I'll sit in with them. They'll have me. And also the fame and the pleasure of the fame that I enjoyed from Whose Line was made fellow performers go, oh, I'd like to play with you. Theater's not often full of that. And showbiz, and especially in LA, has got a lot of gatekeepers.
Yeah.
Improv's full of gate openers. People are like, hey, come on in,
Yeah.
And that's cool because otherwise you get a lot of like, well, I don't know,
But this is exactly why this whole thing has moved full circle and exactly why, we wanted you to be here. Is because we started watching Whose Line. We started watching you guys singing in Whose Line. When it came to us doing our own show and knowing that you were in town, we thought, we've got to get Mike, see if Mike wants to do it. And like you say, that improv spirit of, I'd love to come and jam with you. I'd love to come and play. And I can't remember how we asked or what the actual asking was, but I do remember that you said yes. I tell you what I remember is we said, we're going to do a run through. We're going to do like a technical run through and come and join us for that. and I think you were watching us. You
Yeah.
were watching us. And we did 50 minutes of probably the worst improvisation ever committed to a stage anywhere on the planet. It was called Blue Ribbon Boy. Do you have any memory of this at all?
I don't remember this.
It was set in some kind of wine tasting thing, and it was called Blue Ribbon Boy. And we just sort of disastrously shuffled our way through it, and then thought, I'm not sure Mike's going to want to play with us anymore. And you were ever such a gent, and you were, lovely and charming, and you said, yeah, this is great, let's do it. And then the show, do you remember the show?
Show was like I remember being an Asian emperor or something. That was the second one. But
Yes, we were always skating the thin ice of political correctness.
Yeah,
over the lake of
it was a
despair.
bit Gilbert and Sullivan-y.
You were a genie. You were kind of like a genie
yeah.
character, like Aladdin sort of thing. It was called Bombay Stars Bleed.
That's right.
Yeah, and you were the king of the genies or something, and you'd come out of a lake.
It was a lot of fun. It was in the shed.
Yeah, we were in a
shed.
porter cabin that seated 89 people in George Square, and we were on at 11:40 at night.
I remember we did a freeze while somebody was singing, and I was right next to somebody, and we were just dripping. We were like wax candles, just going.
Yeah, that hasn't changed in 11 years of playing.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't.
Every night is a sweatbox up here.
It's a sebaceous event. Edinburgh, it really is. It's a sweaty event. You walk into some theaters and it smells like a dead man, or like a regimental colonel cigar box where he's kept his condoms.
It would be legally irresponsible if we stopped without making you sing something for us, Mike.
It is in my contract that I sing at a moment's notice.
Yeah, absolutely. So what we did is we just sent out something on Twitter.
All right.
And we asked people to send in some suggestions for what they would love to hear Mike McShane and us sing about. And Pippa is battling technology right at this moment and has found the following amazing and incredible suggestion, which is...
Wait, no, sorry, I'm going to need more time.
Pippa, while you're looking for suggestions on the Twitter feed, can I just check in with you, Mike, about suggestions in improv? Audience suggestions in improv? Because you must have taken quite a few audience suggestions in your time.
I believe, like a lot of improvisers, if I had £1 for every time a toilet brush was mentioned in an improv, I would have retired by now and lived in the Seychelles Islands just wearing pants and combing the beach for sandy little dollars.
Yeah.
Because you get a lot. It's weird because what we do when you improvise, you first start, you go through this sort of, it's like an HTML file of like objectionable stuff like Tourette's. It just, all the like, we'll do sex or body things. And after all, you go, this is all done.
Why is that? Why do you think audiences generally shout that sort of stuff out in improv?
I wonder whether the idea that you're supposed to take unmentionable ideas or concepts and make satire or parody out of them comes from the comedy club element of it. The fact that if somebody said, I need a suggestion of something, and somebody would go, a rose in the moonlight.
Yeah, no one's ever going to do that.
Right, get out of here, you throw their drink out
to death in a comedy club in San Francisco.
But that's why, as a theatrical medium, it's allowed that width and license of thought. Yes, you can say something poetic, and actually something open and poetic is just that. And like a poem, it's not completed until it's read by somebody, which is the improvisers reading it into them and making something happen. So it's a continuation of an open idea. A toilet brush is an object that you then devise an idea around. And in that sense, it is limited to a comic quip. And that's just after a while, you do enough of those, you go, I'm looking for better. I've had enough hamburger. Give me some steak. And that's what the bigger and the larger suggestions are. But it's also awful things. I mean, it used to be you get suggestions about awful activities, pedophilia and things like that. You kind of go like, all right, really? And I think it's just burning it out. In an improv class, you burn them out in the class because there's no wrong answers. Yeah. But you get out your system and then you move on. You move up and on. Yeah. And you can't do that. You don't move up and on with certain suggestions. They just don't.
One thing that Ken actually, that's something Ken taught me because I lived in pub prov, and so we would take anything. So it would be a toilet brush every day. In fact, we said the other day, didn't I say, was it a bit of a spatula audience?
Yes,
it was a spatula audience, where spatula was the suggestion every time. And Ken said, all right, Pippa, she's going to sing a song for you. She's going to sing a song. What's it going to be about? And someone went, cancer. And he went, Why would you? What? Right, she's going to sing the most beautiful song you've ever heard about cancer, so every single person in this room is crying. And he allowed me to not be funny and just sing a beautiful song about cancer.
Yeah.
And then everyone must have been like, oh, that wasn't what I expected. But I realised my error and yet the beauty that came from.
That's it. You need somebody to challenge the suggestion and go, this can occur with an improv. And then, of course, you probably pulled it off amazing because you're Pippa. And bingo. Some people go, oh, but a lot of people go, oh, that's right. And they get an idea of the theatrical heft and width of what we do, what improv does, and maybe makes fans of them. Mm. I think that's all you can do is try to set it out in a way they go, oh, I didn't think about it like that. That's cool. And then they go, Yeah. We asked for a musical suggestion once in the 80s, where the improv group that Greg and I ran, and we got pig semen. Mm. And it all just kind of went, and so you saw our brakes go, and we went, okay. And we did a musical about sailors, pig sailors that come to a town that hates pigs, but one of the pig sailors falls in love with a chicken woman. And it's a love that dare not speak, is squawk its name, And so we did this the love that couldn't happen. And it was great. I mean, people, and of course, afterwards, the audience lost it. They were like, and that's like the first time Greg and I went, yes, you can do this. Yeah. You can, I'll defy your limited expectations of this and go above it. And the 5 or 6 of us will do it. And at the end of it, you'll go, wow. And they did. And you go, that's a real sense of accomplishment as an improviser. If you take a shitty suggestion and wrap it in like the beautiful improv fabric and it flutters up in the air like a beautiful butterfly, and everybody's like, oh, wow. And you're like, yeah, that's right, motherfuckers. Just gave you some art. Chew on that for a while. Love ya!
Okay, this suggestion comes from Emily Reason at Reason Emily, and she's asked for flyering on the Royal Mile in the style of Paint Your Wagon.
Hey there! Yeah, you! Take the flyer from me. I know that you'll agree. It's the best show that you'll ever see. Another flyer for you, and that will see you through. See what show, see to take a flyer from me. We were born underneath 5-star. Yes! It's a 5-star review. 5-star review. We were born underneath 5 stars. It's a 5-star review. Say they're fantastic, amazing, full of skills. There's things you want to do. They're always clear to thrill. But here's the thing that makes them by far. They got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stars. We were born underneath 5 stars. Hooray, hooray! It's a 5-star review. It'll be the best you've seen. That's what I mean. They've got 5 stars. It's a 5-star review.
Oh, what a great guy.
Yeah, that was just amazing to chat to Mike. He's such a wonderful, a lovely human being.
He really is, and he's done so much. He's literally been in everything.
Yeah, incredible. So that was our first episode, guys. I hope you enjoyed it.
That was quite fun.
Yeah, I think it was more than fun. I think it was very fun.
Really, very fun. Okay, all right.
If you agree, listening, then why not subscribe to us?
Yeah, that's a great idea. And you can also follow us on Twitter at The Showstoppers, and we are also on Instagram at Showstopper Musical.
So send us a message if you enjoyed the episode. Share it with your friends, all of that. Give us a rating wherever you get your podcasts. That really, I know every podcast says this, but it is so helpful in helping us get more people to listen to us. And if there's anything, if there's anyone you want us to interview or anything, any feedback, anything, any little shout-outs you want, just let us know.
Just let us know, because we're very friendly.
Very, very friendly.
Well, until next time, Showstopper podcasters.
Bye.